Hello everyone. In this video, you will be learning the fourth lesson of chapter 4, which is about congruent triangles. Now you are already familiar with the word congruent. In easy words, that means equal, right? So we are going to see how are congruent angles related with the sides and how are congruent triangles related with angles and the sides. So to start with, you have geometric figures are congruent if they're the same size and shape. So if any two figures are of the same size and same shape, you could call them congruent. But the important part here is to make sure that they are of the same size and shape. We refer to the angles and the sides. So if any two figures have the angles and the sides all the same, then we refer to them as congruent figures. Now, what does this mean? Corresponding angles and corresponding sides mean the same angle of that figure and the same angle of the other figure are equal or the same sides. For example, if side AB in this is 9 and side XY is 9 on the other side, that means both of them are, but it makes sure that all of them should be congruent. All the corresponding sides and angles should be congruent for us to determine that that geometric figures are congruent or not. Now, these are the definitions you need to learn. So let's start by looking at how do we name the congruent parts. Okay, now here you can see two triangles. Already you're familiar with these signs, these angle marks and these marks. Already you're familiar with them. What does this mean? This means that angle D is congruent to angle R, angle E is congruent to angle S, and angle F is congruent to angle T. Similarly, the sides too. So side DE is congruent to RS, which means it's equal. Side EF is congruent to ST, and FD is congruent to TR. But make sure that you follow the same order. Like for example, if you say DE, you cannot say SR. If it is DE, you need to follow RS. It's the same order you need to follow, do not flip the letters. Okay, so this is how congruent triangles are written. So as all the angles and all the sides are similar, or all the corresponding sides are and the angles are similar, so we could say triangle DEF is congruent to triangle RST. This is the congruent symbol which we will be using more often now. So these are all the corresponding angles. We have already discussed about them, and these are all the corresponding sides. We have also discussed about these angles and sides already. Now, if polygon LMNP is congruent to EFGH, identify all pairs of congruent parts. So there's a polygon, one polygon is LMNP and another polygon is EFGH. So how do you identify all the pairs of angles and the sides? So start with the first letter, that is L. So if L is the first letter here in the other triangle, it is corresponding to E. So if you have confusion, you can simply write 1, 2, 3, 4 and 1, 2, 3, 4 on this side, and then find out which angles are of the same numbers. So L is congruent to E, M is congruent to F, N is congruent to G, P is congruent to H. So this is how you write the angles. It's easy, just look at the letters and write them. The first letter to the first, second letter to the second, third letter to the third, fourth letter to the fourth. Okay, now let's move on to the sides. So start with the first two letters because sides means they should have two, it's a segment, so it should have 2 points. So it's LM, which is corresponding to LM on the other polygon, it is EF. Then MN corresponding to FG, NP corresponding to GH, and the other one is LP. So the first and the last, that means first and the last from here, that is segment EH. So it is this easy how to identify all pairs of corresponding congruent parts in a triangle or in any polygon. Just look at the letters which they have given. Okay, now keeping that in mind, let's find out how to solve these questions. Given triangle ABC is congruent to triangle DEF. So triangle ABC is congruent to DEF. Now from the statement itself, you can find out which are the corresponding angles and which are the corresponding sides. So from the question, you can derive that angle A is equal to angle D, angle B is equal to angle E, angle C is equal to angle F. The same would happen if you number them 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. So 1 equals 1, 2 equals 2, 3 equals 3. Now let's go on to the sides and find out which are the corresponding sides. So sides always start with the two letters, that's AB. So AB becomes DE, right? That they're the two first letters from here and two first letters from DEF. Then the next two letters are BC, so the corresponding sides will be EF. And then the other one is AC, so the corresponding side will be DF. So now we have all the corresponding angles and corresponding sides. We could start with the question. Find the value of x. Now observe the figure very carefully. You have x only here. So definitely we will have to use the x here to find out the value. Okay, so here if we are using 2x minus 2, we need to have an equation to find out the value of x. So what are we going to make it equal to? So this is where just the thing which you learned comes in use. So here you could see that 2x minus 2 represents the side. It represents the side AB, right? So from these facts which we wrote, which side is congruent to AB? It's DE. So AB is congruent to DE. So DE is given to be 6 as well. So I could say AB is congruent to DE, which means 2x minus 2 equals 6. Because AB is 2x minus 2, DE is 6. Now normally you solve how you would solve an equation. You will get the answer of x equals 4. Now you are done with the first part. Now let's move on to the second part. Find angle F. So you have to find angle F. Which angle is corresponding to angle F? As here you can see, they did not give us anything. They just gave us one angle. It is impossible for us to find the other two angles when only one angle is given. So it's no way. But look at this angle. We have already two angles. We need to find one more. So which one we are going to choose? We are going to choose angle C is congruent to angle F, which means if you find the measure of angle C, you could say that is equal to angle F. So how are you going to find angle C here? There are two ways you could use. One way is you can add 53 plus 90 and subtract that from 180. That's because of the triangle sum theorem. All the three angles in a triangle should equal 180 degrees. So you can add 53 plus 90 and subtract from 180. Or according to the corollary which you learned, in a right triangle, the two acute angles are complementary, means 90 degrees. So this is a right angle. So the two acute angles, if you add up, that should give you 90 degrees, which means you can do 90 minus 53 to find out angle C. So either way, you can do it, whichever you feel is easier. But here I chose the long way because I just wanted to use the side triangle sum theorem. So it's going to be 180 minus 53 plus 90. So that will give you angle C is going to be 37 degrees. Else simply you could subtract 53 from 90. That will give you a 37 as well. Why will you subtract 53 from 90? Because of the corollary which says that and the acute angles in a right triangle are complementary. Okay, now that we have found angle C, you could say angle F is also 37. That's because angle C is congruent to angle F, which means angle C is equal to angle F. So you need to observe the figures very carefully and write down the information whichever is given, and whichever you are finding out, also write it down so that it will be helpful in the next step. Okay, now before I go on with the lesson, it's better we stop here and practice a bit. So if you think you need more practice, you could copy the questions and then you can solve it alone. Okay. So this is the question, question 3 to 8. Okay. So for question 3 to 8, you're going to use the same fact that angle RST is congruent to angle LMN. Now, the way I told you, if you could name them 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. So you know which are the corresponding angles. R is corresponding to L, S is corresponding to M, T is corresponding to N. If it is RS, side RS, it is LM, ST is MN. It's easy, you don't even need to write. Okay, now here, they want you to find the congruent corresponding part for RS. So RS, that's 1 and 2. So which is 1 and 2 from here? L and M. So you need to write it as L, M with the sign. Then L and N. That means 1 and 3 follow the same order. So 1 and 3 from here are R and T. Then angle S, only angle S, which is number 2. So here it is angle M. TS, follow the order. It is 3, 2, which means here also it should be 3, 2. Don't do 2, 3. It should be 3, 2. So it's going to be N, M. Angle L is 1, which means here it is 1 is angle R. And angle N, which is the third one, that is going to be angle T. So this is how easy it is to identify congruent corresponding parts. Okay, now let's try to do this question, or we'll finish this one. Given polygon CDEF is congruent to KLMN, identify the congruent corresponding parts. So if you think it's confusing you, write down the numbers 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4 as well. So they want you to find DE. DE means 2 and 3, which means 2, 3 from here is LM. Then KN, K is 1, N is 4. So 1, 4. 1, 4 from this side is CF. Then angle F means 4. Here the fourth one is angle N. Angle L, which is the second one. So it is corresponding the second one here. That's angle T. It's easy, right? Now let's move on to some questions. Given triangle FGH is congruent to triangle JKL. So let me write down 1, 2, 3 so that it will be easy for me to identify them, that's all. Okay, so they want you to find the value of KL. So they want you to find the value of KL, which means Y. They want you to find the value of Y. Now, which side is corresponding to KL? KL is 2 and 3, so corresponding side should be GH. So GH, they did not give us any value, nothing. So what do? Then we have to find for another thing, right? Another option. So the only option to find Y which they gave is JK, which they wrote 3Y minus 15. The segment for JK is 3Y minus 15. Now, of course, to find the value of Y, I need an equation. So what am I going to make 3Y minus 15 equal to? I need a number. So find the corresponding side for JK. JK is 1 and 2. So which is the corresponding side? FG. So FG they gave as 12. So first let me write the statement saying JK is congruent to FG. Follow the same order. Okay. Now if JK is 3y minus 15, I could say 3y minus 15 equals 12 because FG is 12, right? So that means 3y is going to be equal to 12 plus 15, which means 3y is going to be equal to 27. Y is going to be equal to 9. So I found the value of y, which means the segment KL, it's KL is going to be 9. Because KL is y, so y is 9. So KL is 9, right? Let's find the value of x. Now look at the picture and figure and see where is x. Where is the thing which we could use to find x? The only thing they gave us is 4x minus 10. That too, it's a measure of the angle. This angle G is 4x minus 20. Okay. Now, which is the corresponding angle to angle G? Here look at it, angle G is 2. So the corresponding angle is K, which is 108. So we can use this. Not necessary always that you need to use the same thing. Like for example, here they asked Y, but they did not give us a measure, but we use the other side. You could use any, you could make use of an angle to find the value of variable. You could find the length of sides to find the value of a variable. It doesn't matter unless we find the value of the variable. So I could start by saying angle G is congruent to angle K, right? So if angle G is 4x minus 20, I can say 4x minus 20 equals 108. So that makes it 4s equals 108 plus 20. So 4x is going to be equal to 128. X is going to be, oh, x is going to be equal to, x is going to be equal to 32. So the value of x is going to be 32 degrees. Don't put the, sorry, not degrees. Don't put the degree sign, as they're only asking you the value of x. They didn't ask anything else. They didn't ask the measurement of any angle. If they ask angle, yes, it should finish with a degree. Okay. So let's try this. Now, we have to find angle C here. So when you look at the figure, first I have always told you observe the figure. What have they given you? They have given you the side AB, which is y minus 7, BC, which is 12, angle C to be x plus 11, angle B, which is both the parts. So if this part is 90, I could say this part is also 90. So when you observe the figure, write down whichever things you could easily guess. Okay, because you know, either they are like, if this is 90, definitely this is going to be 92, because angles on a straight line make up 180, right? Or you could even say, look at the statement given, ABD, which is CBD. So angle A is equal to angle C, angle B is equal to angle B, angle D is equal to angle D, which means this angle B in a whole has been divided in two parts. So if this part is 90, definitely this is going to be 90 as well, right? So you write it down there that it's 90, or you can just mark it as I did, and remember that it's 90. Fine. Now using all this information given, let's find what is angle C. So to find angle C, which is the congruent angle for angle C, angle A, right? Now, did they give angle A here? They did not give us any information about angle A. So what are we going to do? We are going to use another form of x so that we can find the value of x and substitute it. So where is another x which we could find? It is only here, which is for angle D, right? Now, can I say 4x plus 10 equals 90? Because already it is 90. So I need an equation, in fact, to find out the value of x. So I could say 4x plus 10 equals 90, right? That's because either you can use two reasons here. One is angle D equals angle D. It is corresponding. Angle D is corresponding to angle D. That is one reason. And another reason is their angles on a straight line. So if one angle is 90, the other is going to be 180 minus 90, which is 90. So let me solve this for x now. This is going to be 4x equals 80. 90 minus 10. X is going to be equal to 20. Now that I have found the value of x, I could easily find the value of angle C. So the measure of angle C is x plus 11, which means 20 plus 11. That's going to be 31 degrees. The measure of angle C is 31 degrees. Right. Now let's find the value of y. Now to find the value of y, of course, you need to get hold of a y anywhere. So where is the y we have? We have a y here, y minus 7. Now before you do anything, of course, you have to find the value of y, you need an equation. So what are you going to make it equal to? So look at the sign. The y minus 7 is for the segment AB. So the corresponding segment AB, which is the corresponding segment for AB, CB. So find CB is 12. So I could say AB is congruent to CB. That's why we are saying y minus 7 equals 12. So y is going to be 12 plus 7. Y is equal to 19. So this is how you need to observe the figure well, and then once you observe and catch some kind of information, it's easy to solve the question as what they have asked. Okay, now let's move on with the question. But to move on with the question, you need to complete one more part, which is use the diagram to prove the following. So you have to draw, you have to prove, you have to give proof for something. Okay, given MK, that's MK, look at the figure very carefully. MK bisects JL. Okay, bi means two, sect means part. So MK and bisect JL means it's cutting MK is crossing JL, and what happens as a result of that? The line has been divided in two parts. JL, that's JL, bisects MK. So it's in fact the same, but they have started it from the other side. Here they said MK bisects JL. Here they said JL bisects MK. JK, that segment JK, is congruent to ML. Okay, so JK, in other words, easy words, is equal to ML. JK is also parallel to ML. You know what parallel lines are? They don't touch each other. So the JK is parallel to LML. So keeping this information, we need to prove triangle JKN. JKN is congruent to LMN. Now always keep in mind, when you are proving something, your proof and my proof might not follow the same order, because the way we look at the question may differ. So it's not necessary that your proof steps should match the proof of someone else, but make sure that you include every segment and every angle given in the figure. That's the main thing you need to do. You need to prove every angle and every segment given in the line is equal. So in this case, they are asking us to prove JKN is congruent to LMN. So we need to use each side of these triangles and each angles of these triangles to prove that they both are equal. So your proof table will look something like this. You need to give the statements and then the reasons. So always start with the information which they have given you. Okay, so the information which they have given you is MK bisects JL. So first write that down, MK bisects JL, because that's given, already it's given. Also this means the same, JL bisects MK. So you can give that as your second proof, that is also given. Now, what happened because of this bisect? What happened here? MK, when MK has been bisected by JL, what happened is there is a point where both of them meet. So that point is named as N. Now, from this, what can you find out? We can say that Jn from J to N is equal to Ln, because they're both of the same length. If Jn is going to be 2, Ln is also going to be 2, because that's why it's bisected. Bisected means equally dividing in two parts. Bi means two, sect means parts. So equally dividing in two parts. So because of this bisecting, what happened is there was a point where both the lines meet. So from that point to one corner of the line, Jn and the Ln, they are congruent, right? Similarly, on the other side, Mn is congruent to Kn. So that can be a third reason. Jn is congruent to Ln, Mn is congruent to Kn. So you just find from the information which they have given what happened. So you write that as the step and then say, why did we say like that? That Jn is congruent to Ln? Because of the definition of the bisector. What does the definition of bisector say? That it divides any line in two parts, two equal parts. So that's why we said Jn is congruent to Ln. Now, take the next reason which they have given. What have they given? Jk is congruent to Ml. So Jk is congruent to Ml. They also said Jk is parallel to Ml. So we could write those two reasons and say that it is already given for us in the question. Now, Jk is congruent to Ml. Jk is congruent to Ml. We are done with all the lines. We finished this line, we finished this line, we finished this line, as well as we finished this line. Now what are we left with? We are left with the angles. So let's start comparing the angles one by one. So start with this angle here. Any angle, you could start with this also, doesn't matter. So angle J, which is the congruent angle for angle J? You can refer even from the picture. So the congruent angle for angle J is angle L, right? Angle J is equal to angle L. We are only talking about these angles. We are not bothered about these triangles, because we need to prove only these two triangles are similar, not the side two, only this up and down. So angle J is congruent to angle L. Why is that? Because of the alternate interior angles theorem. You know, alternate means opposite, interior means inside. So these two are inside opposite angles. Similarly, angle K is congruent to angle M. That is also because of the alternate interior angles theorem. So now here, if I would write angle, which is the remaining angle, angle N and angle N. But if I write angle N, anyone will be confused, which is angle N. For that reason, you need to be specific. So how do you name this angle? You could name it as JNK is congruent to MNL. Okay, that's because it shares the same letter. If it was on different letter, it's okay, you can name the angle. But here, because both of them are N, so I'm writing it by the length. So J and K is congruent to M and L. That is also because of the vertical angles theorem. Vertical means what? The angles which are facing each other, like this angle and this angle, they're facing each other. So that's because of the vertical angles theorem. So finally, now we are done with the sides. We have finished with the angles. Finally, you could say triangle JKN is congruent to triangle LKN. That is because of the definition of congruent triangles. Yes, it does take time. You are learning something new. So give some time, practice, understand, do some more questions. Definitely you can get it right. Okay, so let's get practicing here. So read the question carefully. I'll just erase this part because, okay. The question says E is the midpoint of AC and BD. So it is the midpoint of AC and BD, which means you need to understand that this has been this. It's almost like bisect. Midpoint is like bisect. If they bisect means you will get a midpoint, which is E. So it is similar to the example we saw now, right? But instead of bisect, this they call it as a midpoint, right? So E is the midpoint of AC and BD. So from this, you need to understand that these two lines, what will be equal to what? Which part will be equal to what? AB is congruent to CD. AB is congruent to CD, and AB is also parallel to CD. Okay, so let's get going now. In this table, they just asked you to fill it in, which means you just need to look at it and identify it. That's all. So AB is parallel to CD. Now read the question carefully. That's already given in the question. So we write as given. Now, angle ABE, which angle are they talking about? Angle AB. Always remember when they are writing like this, means the angle is the middle letter here. Okay, angle ABE is congruent to angle CDE. So this angle, see, I told you if they write with three letters, the middle letter denotes the angle. So angle B and angle D. What could you say about angle B and angle D? There is some relationship among them. First of all, they're inside, so it is kind of interior. And what is the other word we use for them? We use as alternate interior angles theorem. According to the alternate interior angles theorem, these two angles are equal. So that's why they said it's congruent. Now, AB is congruent to CD. Look at the question, it's already given. So we write it as given. Then E is the midpoint of AC and BD. E is the midpoint of AC and BD. That is also given to us. Next, what can we fill it here? For the definition of midpoint. Now, because of this midpoint, I already explained you why do they say it as midpoint. From this midpoint, what can you find out from this midpoint? What happened because of this midpoint? Definitely it affected these lines. But how did it affect the lines? You need to write. So just write what happened. So because of this midpoint, AE is congruent to CE. Same way, DE is congruent to BE. Why do we say that? Because of the definition of midpoint. You know, from the midpoint, any segment will be equal to each other. So that's what we have written here. Now, angle AEB is congruent to angle CED. So which angle are they talking about? They're talking about these two angles. See here, E and E. So they're talking about AEB, which is this angle, and CED, which is this angle. What kind of angles are these? They are vertical opposite angles. They're vertical opposite angles, right? So according to the vertical opposite theorem, vertical angles theorem, you say that they both are equal. So we could say this is vertical angles theorem. Now, triangle, now see, we have touched every part of these two triangles. We even talked about the angles. We even talked about all the lines connected to these two angles. So, sorry, these two triangles. So we are done. So finally we say triangle ABE is equal to triangle CDE because of the definition of congruent angles. Usually the last step is going to be this definition of this. The definition of congruent triangles. According to the definition of congruent triangles, if all the three angles are equal to each other, if all the three sides are equal to each other, that means the angle triangles are equal. Now to make it sure, see, these are the two triangles. Let me draw them separately for you so that you could understand. This is AB, right? And this is E, the midpoint is E. Now I'm drawing roughly, I'm not drawing it perfectly. Okay, and this is BC. Now, did we touch these two lines, A and BC, A, B, C, D? Yes, we did. We have done that. Did we touch A, E, E, C? Yes, we did. Here we proved A, E, C, E and D, E, B, E are equal. So even we finished with this, we finished with this, right? Now, did we talk anything about these angles, B and D? Yes, we did. Did we talk about angle A and C? Yes, we did. Here we did angle A and angle C. Did we talk about these two angles? Yes, we did. So finally, the step is going to be this angle, triangle is equal to this triangle. Let's try one more. Now, given MP bisects triangle, angle MP, this is MP, segment MP bisects. Again, the word bisect is coming, which means divide in two parts. Angle NMR. So this is angle NMR. P is the midpoint of NR. So midpoint means, you know, this is equal to this. This, when they say these words, you need to understand because these are like the key words they give. Midpoint means this NP is equal to RN. Fine. MR, that is segment MR, angle N is congruent to angle R, which means they both are equal. So prove angle MNP is congruent to angle MRP. Triangle MNP is congruent to triangle MRP. Now, make sure you say something about this angle and this angle because they both are equal. Make sure you say something about these two angles because they both are equal. You need to say something about these two also. And so those are the angles. Then we have to say something about the equal side. So which ones make the equal side? This one. You have to say something about those two sides as well as this side as well as this side. So let's start. Now, angle N is congruent to angle R. Check first of all in the information, did they give anything? Yes, they did. So here we write it as given. Okay, the next one is MP bisects angle NMR. So once you have written angle N is congruent to angle R, the next one move to the side. So MP is bisecting angle NMR. So that's given as well. Before you find it in the figure, find out in the information they have given it or not. Now, which can be a definition of bisector? What do you think is going to be the definition? Because of what did we say that it is bisecting? MP is the bisector. So because of this MP, what happened? So we can say NMP is equal to RMP, right? Or because if I say angle M is equal to angle M, anyone will be confused. So because of that, we need to write angle NMP is congruent to angle RMP. That's because of the definition of the bisector, right? That's why we wrote it like that. The next one is, what is the third angles theorem? From the triangle, what could we say as the third angles theorem here? Guess. Already we talked about these two angles. We finished talking about these two angles. So what is the remaining part in the third angles theorem? What does the third angle theorem say? If two angles in a triangle are equal, automatically the other becomes equal too. So which are the other two remaining parts of the triangle? These two. So that's angle P. But we cannot say angle P is equal to angle P. So we could say MPN is equal to MPR. So we can write it like that. So we will write MPN is congruent to, this is, I started from here, MPN, so I need to start from here as well. MPR, right? Why did I put that? So angle MPN is equal to angle MPR. P is the midpoint of NR. So P is the midpoint of NR is already given in the information. Now, which is the next definition of midpoint? What did they say? P is the midpoint. And because of this midpoint, what happened? Can we say that because of the midpoint, NP is equal to RP? That's what the midpoint did, right? So we could say NP, segment NP is congruent to segment RP. Now, MN, this is MN, is congruent to MR. Why is that we are saying MN is congruent to MR? Here, it is given. Which is the next information? MP is congruent to MP. MP is congruent to MP. Now, this property you have not learned. It was there, but we did not concentrate on it. That was last year. So, if something is equal to something, we call this as reflexive property. Okay, we call it as reflexive property of equality. If something is equal to the same thing, we call it as reflexive property of equality. So this is something which is new for you. You have not learned this. I think we did not take this class before. So if anywhere you see something is equal to something, just say that it is reflexive property of equality. That's all. So triangle MNP is congruent to triangle MRP because of the definition of congruent triangle. See, as I said, always the last finishes with the definition of what we are proving. So it's all right if you feel it's difficult, it's all right because it's something new you are learning. So, but practice, just go through the questions in your book, try to solve if there are more questions, or get some questions from the internet and do them, so that if you have any doubt, you can ask me anytime. You can solve. If you want to confirm your answers, you can ask me. So till we meet again in the next video, that's for the homework video. Keep practicing and check your answers surely from the next video.